So you want to sit around your whole life wishing you were on the force?
Hello and welcome to another bonus episode of Kill James Bond, and it's Double Dragon. It's me and Devon this time.
That's right, it's just us and the listener.
Abby was available, but the thing is, the microphone that she had... so like we could hear her, but it was like she was sort of like having a fight in a phone booth with a bunch of 8-bit musicians.
There was it was Matrix going on in the background when she was talking. It was crazy.
Yeah. And obviously we couldn't do a podcast where Abby was calling in from the inside of a photocopier. So it's just us.
She wanted us
sadly
to pass on our love. She's doing great. She's getting, and I'm quoting here, dome the likes of which you cannot imagine. So...
dome like the vault from The Man from U.N.C.L.E. You know, you perceive the dome and you immediately sort of like go towards it with all possible speed.
A Tran who no longer exists.
She's like one with the dome as soon as she sees it. So this was your pick, Devon. This was the movie Copland.
Yeah, a bunch of hogs recommended it. That's why.
Oh, well, good on the hogs and good on you, because I really enjoyed this movie. It like rocketed up past my expectations. If you're sort of not familiar with the conceit here, because I think it's a really good one. So some cities make police live where they work, right? Which is a good policy, but a lot of police officers hate it, right? And so you end up with these curious suburbs where they sort of like agglomerate together, where it's all cop, like Simi Valley. There's like a ton in Long Island and New Jersey. And what's really curious is I actually grew up in one of these.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, genuinely. Southeast London, Bromley, like one of the lowest crime rates, very leafy, very suburban, but still technically in London. So that's where, like, there's a ton of, like, ex-cops there because that's where they park you when you're sort of, like, ending your career and you don't want to, like, do as much heavy shit. And, you know, like Henry Hill in Goodfellas, right? That's where the trouble began, you know? I always wanted to be like those guys I saw around the old neighborhood. But so this phenomenon of, like, the cop suburb, we do this with... It's 1970s New York, and the woke... NYPD are making the cops live where they police. And New York in the 70s, New York City in the 70s, that's sort of like still the high watermark in a lot of popular imagination for like urban chaos and anarchy and stuff. I have to do the Warriors at some point.
Yeah, we will have to do the Warriors. I'll pick it. I know I'll pick it at some point.
Yeah, genuinely. But like the idea is that in a classic cop exploitation of the loopholes in police bureaucracy, the only cops who are allowed to live outside of New York City are transit cops, because that's run with New Jersey and Connecticut. And so a bunch of cops from the 37th precinct have themselves, they do some like overtime shifts to have themselves designated as like reserve transit cops.
Yeah.
And sort of like work that angle to move out to this town of Garrison, New Jersey, across the river, across the George Washington Bridge. And that's Copland of the title.
That's Copland, baby.
That's Copland. And we go to the cop bar in Garrison, which is sort of pretty well observed. I think it's like it's all cops. Harvey Keitel is there doing some kind of like suspicious deal. And then, at the end of the bar, is, like, Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester fucking Stallone!
So the thing about this movie is that Stallone is the sheriff of this cop suburb, where everyone is NYPD. And that's a really interesting dynamic, and I was worried going into it that, like, that's a conceit that's too good for Sylvester Stallone's acting, right? Because you know I've been quite down on him in the course of recording the Rambo episodes. Even First Blood.
You've been mean to our boy, our precious little fella Sylvester Stallone.
I've said certain things.
Abby
I've
and
made
I were
certain
won
statements.
over in First Blood, you maintained a healthy sense of distance from Rambo as a character because you'd watched Rambo 3, and I hadn't watched Rambo 3, so you knew where that guy was going, which made you much harsher on him than I was.
That's true.
However,
that's true.
Having now seen Rambo 3, I know where you were fucking coming from. But he's in this, and he's acting. He's doing real acting, baby. And I know, this was like a comeback for him. He's pretty good. He is pretty good. I was worried that he couldn't carry this, but the character that he starts with, Freddie Heflin, this local sheriff, is kind of like affable, dumb guy. He kind of gets pushed around a bit. He's like playing like video games, like an arcade game in the cop bar, and Harvey Keitel kind of like pushes him around a bit. It's his birthday, which he's not even celebrating. And he's just this like sad guy who's like deaf in one ear. He's Earth's most cucked cop. Yeah, he is deaf in one ear and couldn't join the NYPD. This is something that they give you in the first scene. They're like, this guy hearing problems, but he's always wanted to be a cop.
Yeah, imagine how I feel about this character and whether or not I could relate to this character.
Impossible to...
Yeah.
So you want to sit around your whole life wishing you were on the force?
So he's like, he gets in his car, he gets put in his car by Harvey Keitel, and he drunk drives home. And he's kind of like, he's driving home drunk, he's looking out across the river at New York City, and that strikes me as an interesting observation that, like, if you watch a lot of cop fiction, which is like, you know, a lot of fiction, you think everybody's like NYPD, LAPD, special unit, doing cool stuff all the time. There's like what, like 1 million plus cops in America, and most of them are doing shit like this by the numbers. It's mostly like small town, bored cops who like are not doing the glamorous stuff at all. And you get this like yearning in him to like do that because he's a cop, but like not the kind of cop that everyone thinks of when they think cop, which is really interesting.
It's a great character motivation. He mentions to a passerby, he's like, basically no one's at the cop bar tonight because they're all at some sort of fucking party across the river. And I
think it's a birthday party.
We cut to that party and we see Michael Rappaport.
Yep.
A very young Michael Rappaport is playing this cop guy. He's one of the guy's nephews, I think.
Yeah, Superboy. Murray Superboy Babbage. And he's this sort of like, as you say, young cop.
Hero cop.
Like, it's his party.
Yeah.
He's so drunk that as he gets out of the bar, where he is going to drive, by the way, this is another thing that I'll get to later. He literally goes, "Oh," to himself like 3 times sequentially.
So my first note is like, this is the most Jersey guy of all time. It says "oh" 3 full times in his introductory scene, and then he does. This is something that like I cannot imagine anyone reacting in this manner. I know it must happen, but I can't put myself in that headspace. Which is that he hears the sound of someone throwing up, and he gets his gun and goes to investigate.
Yeah. And it's more cops.
Yeah,
it's
just
like more of his
cops.
friends from the party.
He goes, you're scaring the hell out of me," kind of thing. I'm like, what do you think was happening, man? Some dude was chucking up.
Yeah, but they go like, "Are you good to drive?" So like, also obviously themselves very drunk, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine."
Yeah.
Gets in the car, runs over a bottle on the way out, which we know is going to like puncture his tire. And as he's driving home across the George Washington Bridge, he gets sideswiped by another car, right? With 2 black men in it.
That's right.
And he chases them, shows them his badge like out of the window, and one of them points what looks at first maybe to be like a gun at him, and his tire blows. And as they're driving away, he like shoots out of the window at their car, which is leaving. And I think that literally the next shot we get is the sort of like NYPD like descending on this fucking bridge.
Yeah.
Because he has killed both of them.
It took me a second actually, because I was half paying attention at the start of this movie. It took me a second to realize what had happened because the cut is so sudden. Yeah, that's right. I'm cutting it off here for the promo for the free feed. You know, I don't feel too great about it either. But this is the 10-minute mark, so this is the point at which I have to cut it off and be like, hey, go to patreon.com/killjamesbond. Da 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 da. So really, just to save me the embarrassment of having to stop you midway through hearing this, you really should go to patreon.com/killjamesbond and sign up now for as little as £5 a month. That's about the price of a tube of toothpaste if you've got fucked teeth like I do. They're not that bad. They're just sensitive. Patreon. See you there.